Here's Carol.
We all ready?
We ready? We're on?
Is
Okay.
that?
It is my pleasure and my honor to introduce our new friend, Miss Ernestine Schram. She's not embarrassed to tell you that she's 100 years old. She's actually almost 101, but who's counting? And she has lived in Shreveport most of her life, and she is an artist. Her art is on display here. We're going to show you a sample of her art in a little bit. But for now, Ms. Schram is going to tell you what it's like to be Jewish and an artist and 100 years old and living in Shreveport. Can we welcome her, please?
Thank you very much. It is very special today to be here. It's special because it's a wonderful feeling to be in a room where you know, even if it's for a little while, we all had the same thing in mind today. So we have a lot in common. We're all much more alike than we ever dreamed. To tell you about being 100, this is the first time I've been 100, so I haven't had a lot of experience with it. I promise you it won't happen twice. I'm going to tell you something that's going to shock you. I haven't had a shower in years. And you know why? Because I take tub baths. I take a bath every day. But I knew that might get your attention. The things that happen in your life when you're 100, you look back a lot, and they say the older you get, the better your memory is for the past and not for the present. Well, in my past was World War II, which we considered our war. There are no winners of wars. Nobody wins. For everybody that dies, just imagine all the families that are affected. Among the things during war, we had a thing called rationing, which meant you couldn't just go in the store and buy something. If you needed new shoes, now we just go in and we look and we try them on. No, you had to have a coupon to get shoes. And to give you an idea of the difference in prices, in those days, if you had the ticket to get it, shoes for $5 were 100% leather and really well made, much better than what we have now. Your shoes now, mostly the sole, if you look at them, some form of plastic. Also, things that were different then, you had what you call blackout curtains. You had to be dark at night because Barksdale Field, which y'all know is in Bossier, was considered a target by the enemies that we were fighting, which was Japan and Germany. So at night you had to be sitting in your house with black curtains on the windows, and so from outside you couldn't see the house, supposedly. Well, they were always asking for volunteers for all the different things they wanted you to do in case we were bombed. I, at that time, was very thin, and I was young, and I wanted to do something to help, so I went down, and they said, well, the only opening we have, you'd have to carry a bucket full of sand all the time. I said, what? I couldn't even lift it. So that blew that. So I ended up, I think, just doing something really serious, almost like straightening paper clips, not much to it. Some of the things I'm going to say, if you don't understand, please ask me. There was a older Jewish man getting ready to have surgery. He was already in the room to have the surgery, and he knew they were going to put him to sleep any minute. And he insisted that his son be the surgeon. His son was very famous and very well known and a real good doctor. He said, I want to talk to my son. So they said, we're getting ready. He said, I want to talk to my son before they put me to sleep. So they got the son. He came over, leaned over and said, what is it, Dad? He said, I just wanted to make you aware, son. I know you're going to do your best. But in the event that something happens to me, your mother plans on moving in with you and your wife. Another true story I like, which tells you a lot about living and how to have a life. I had some neighbors in Dallas, Texas. Okay, is that better? Are y'all hearing me? I had these nice neighbors in Dallas, and they had one child, a daughter, and the child had reached the age where they wanted to put it in preschool. And they, of course, were going to a fancy one where they had rules the kids had to follow in order to get in, and they had to be able to dress and undress. go to the bathroom on their own, and this is before Velcro, tie and untie their shoelaces. This little boy just couldn't have seemed to get it, and his mother was concerned. It was a week before he had to have the test. He said, "All right, Tim, we are spending the day today, you and I, sitting on the floor, and all we're going to do is tie and untie your shoes until you get it." So by about 3 in the afternoon, she thought he had it. So she said, "All right, I'm leaving the room. When I come back, I want to see your shoes on tied." She comes back. She said, "Oh, Tim, you put them on the wrong feet." Tears were running down his face, and he said, "Mama, they're the only feet I got." Well, that's the way our life is. We really have one shot at this. We have no guarantees. Another thing that you find, what's old is not really new. What's new is really sometimes old. Years ago, when we all lived in caves, and the men got mad to express their anger, they would pick up a stick and just beat the floor. Well, we still have it. Now we call it golf. The price of things will just blow your mind. Ice cream was 10 cents a pint, but it was hard to have 10 cents because it was a depression. Candy, no wonder all the kids in had cavities. 3 pieces for a penny. I'm talking like Tootsie Rolls or Red Hots or just any kind and all kind. Having gone through the Depression, I think was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it has given me a respect for money. I'm not stingy, but I don't just run around throwing money everywhere and every which way. I'm more of a CD kind of a girl than a stock market. Talking about the stock market, the little stock I do have, don't ask me why. They print it so tiny that when you're old enough to have it, you can't read it. But I discovered a long time ago the world was not made for short people, and particularly you better get glasses. I would encourage you to have friends of all ages, because unfortunately now, almost everybody, we had a class reunion, there were 2 of us. Everybody's gone. A lot of them moved to Dallas and Houston, but mostly they are deceased. Take good care of yourself. This is strictly aimed at you kids. I was extremely, relatively active. I was never real good at any sport, but I tried everything. So when you go out to play, go out and play outside where it's fresh air. Don't just sit at the computer playing games and talking to each other on Facebook. I'm afraid you're going to forget how to really talk to each other in person. I'm afraid you're not going to be able to add 2 and 2 without a calculator. Now I'd like to see, do you have any questions for me? Something especially you want to know? Please ask. Any of you? Yes.
I want to ask when you started to do your art. When did you start being a painter?
When I was little, they were scared to trust me with a pencil and certainly with a Crayola, because I would draw all over the walls. Not anything necessarily recognizable, but I had to do it. And the more I matured, the more I realized I really was interested, and I really got serious with it about 15 years ago. I love it. It has certainly kept me sane during the virus when everybody was... Another thing we found out, or at least I did, is how much time, this sounds unkind, we waste with people with just shallow talk. I really am not interested in what the bill was last month for your gas, or how much your daughter-in-law's labor pains was horrible. We need to take the world seriously. I think we're in a very strange situation right now. I'm not going to talk politics. I imagine just hearing me already, you kind of know who I would be for. But when you're old enough to vote, always vote. That is a privilege. And living long enough to be able to vote, or to be as old as me, that is really a privilege, and it's a rarity. People ask me all the time, what did you do? What did you eat? What did you drink? And I say, this is the best answer I've come up with. I was not angelic enough to be an angel, not quite bad enough to go to hell. They don't know where to put me, so I'm still here. Somebody down there must have a question, surely.
Why do we need, why is, why does, why do we have to worry about Hebrew?
Worry about Hebrew. That's a good question.
Hebrew has been around a very, very long time. And it is a way to talk to each other sometimes when you don't want somebody else to know what you're talking about. And that happens. Somebody here had a question.
Hold on, Abel.
What? Okay, just speak up so I can. Here we go.
How do people die?
How do people die? Well, people die from all kinds of things. Trying to think. You know what a pencil is? Sweetie? Do you know what a pencil is? You know a pencil, you know what that is? Okay, all right. So if you use that pencil, you start off, it has a point, and you use it, and the point gets smaller. You use it some more, the point gets smaller. Finally, the pencil's all used up, and that's the way our bodies are. It finally just gets tired and needs to sleep someplace else. Somebody over there.
How many paintings did you do?
How many paintings have you done? Our walls are covered. We have about 100
Well,
here.
right now, here in this building is about 103. But over the whole time I've been painting, I couldn't even guess. Several thousand, I would say.
Do you paint like one painting? How long does it take typically to do a painting?
Well, I'm sorry, what?
How long does it usually take to do a painting?
It depends on the complexity. Let me explain a little bit about contemporary painting, because everything you're going to see here today is pretty much contemporary. Contemporary painting is about feelings. When you see a painting and it's flowers or an apple or grapes, that's called realism. That's to look like something that's real. Abstract is how you feel. And I'm pleased when you look at one of mine and it makes you happy, or it makes you think, or you see something different every time you look at it. And if it's a good abstract painting, if it's hanging like this, you can turn it like that and it'll be totally different and you'll see different things. And I have a strange characteristic. I don't know if it's unique to me or not, but when you buy one of my paintings and you take it home, I feel like I go home with you. And something I maybe being more serious than y'all want me to be, but I don't understand bigotry at all. I do not understand it. If you believe the Garden of Eden, a lot of people do, then we're all related. So you're very busy being bigoted and hating somebody that's part of your own family, which that's certainly not good. And it doesn't matter what somebody at another church calls their God. You call yours God. They may call theirs Buddha. It doesn't matter. We're much more alike than we think. Yes.
What's your inspiration for most of your paintings?
What was the question?
What's your inspiration for most of your paintings?
Inspiration.
Oh, well, I guess it sort of depends on my mood that day or something I would like to share with somebody. And I hope that they will react somewhat. You don't have to ever see the same thing I see when I look at it.
So is it fair to say you express your emotions?
Yes,
through
exactly.
your painting, and
It's
that's
very emotional.
And that's why.
Yes.
And at one point, you explained to me that the colors that you have will influence the paintings that you do. So is that some of an inspiration
Well,
also?
I decided a long time ago that the very famous painters, artists, they'd say, well, he painted this when he was in his pink period. Well, the poor devil, the artist nearly always didn't have any money. I think he had pink paint and he used what he had. That's my theory.
We have more questions. We have a question here. Sorry. Hold on.
If I may, I've known this lady many years, and she has painted beautiful paintings. And at one time, she was very ill, and some of her paintings, you could see her feelings in them. I have some of those, and then I have some before that, and I have some after. my grandsons come to my house, and he said, Granny, I see this and this one, I see that and this one. And today he came in, and the first painting he looked at, he said, that one has birds in it. And I said, wait a minute, let me find the birds.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Did you have some?
I thought I'd be covered with questions.
You mentioned politics. What was the first presidential election that you voted for?
FDR. When FDR died, I thought the world had ended. I'm a little scared right now about the situation, and I hope people will use their heads and just don't believe everything you hear or read. I'm sorry. Yes.
I would like to hear from you. What would be your message for those little kids that we have in the room, and the message for us for the next years to come, from a person that has such a long experience in life?
I don't think anybody needs to have a small experience in life. I'm a maniac about reading. I think some people have trouble understanding what they read. That's a very common occurrence. If that's the case, even if you have to just take it out from the library, get the spoken books and listen to it in that way. When you open a book, you can go to any world, anywhere, on any subject. If you don't like to read, I don't have a lot in common with you.
And we're called the people of the book.
I'm sorry, what?
And we are called the people of the book.
That's right. Everybody that's in this room is a book.
That's right. So how has it been to be Jewish in Shreveport for 100 years?
Thank God Shreveport is not a real bigoted place. I have run into it occasionally, and I'll tell you how I've handled it. If I'm having a conversation with someone who is not Jewish or doesn't know anything about Judaism, and they make a hateful remark about, well, the first thing that's wrong is all Jews have big noses and all Jews are rich. Well, I got in the Gentile line. Our nose is average, and God knows I'm not rich. I just do not understand it. It is really beyond me. If anybody can explain, no one is born hating. Hate is an acquired, environmental, taught emotion. No little baby ever looked up with hate in their eyes at their mother. They look up with love. Be grateful. Be thrilled with what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. And there's a saying going on right now. Don't look back. They might be gaining on us. How about down there? Surely you ladies.
We have somebody here too.
All right.
Who was your inspiration growing up?
Yeah. Who was your inspiration growing up?
Well, I had several. I was convinced that I was not going to live to be very old. Don't ask me why. I'm just a morbid kid. And so when the Jewish woman became the head of Israel, I loved one thing I heard about her, and that was she was being questioned by a Gentile, and they said, "Do you think Jews are smarter than other people?" She waited a minute, and she said, "Well, we were nomadic. We stopped in the desert in the only place where there wasn't any oil."
So Golda Meir was one of her heroes.
Yes,
We have another
right,
question over here.
absolutely.
If you could give your 40-year-old self advice now, what would you say?
Cherish your family. Have friends of all ages. Do not become friends with somebody or even speak to them because they look different than you. Be grateful. Be kind. Live the best life you can. Have morals. That cover you?
Yes, you got it. Well,
I think now,
yes.
this is going to shock you. I think the three things that cause most of the trouble in the world are sex, money, and religion. And when I say religion, they go, "Ah." I want you to look at history. Look at the number of religious wars. Somebody over there had their hand up.
We're trying to get another question from this side of the room. She's convinced one of you wants to ask something. I don't know. So what do you want us to look at now when we look at your art? Oh, wait, here we have a question.
Do you have a favorite painting after all the thousands that you painted?
Do I have what?
A favorite painting of yours?
It changes, and after I finish a painting, or I think I'm through, I take it in the house and I put it in a place where I'll see it all day long, every day. And frequently I add to it or I take away. But I have a lot of favorites. It becomes like your children.
That was my question. How does it feel when you give away a painting or sell a painting? How does it feel to lose the painting that you made?
Thank gosh I never have had to count on it to furnish my bagels.
And you already said that you're glad when it goes.
It's very gratifying and flattering when I sell one. I'm always thrilled. And when I give one away, it's because it's somebody that I know can't afford it or is just so in love with it. I had one person come, every time they came, I noticed they were going in my bedroom. I thought, I don't know what is in there. Finally, I asked them, they said, well, we just are nuts about that painting. Well, I did one as close to it as I could and gave it to them.
And you already said you feel like you go home with them when
That's
a piece
it,
of
yeah,
you goes home with
exactly.
them. So I hope that everybody here is going to look at your art and maybe go home let Ernestine come home with you.
Right, and if you have any questions, I'll be at the table right at the front. Thank you all
Thank
so
you
much.
so very
And
much for coming to
One
visit.
more thing. Don't think I'm not aware that the Saints are playing. I'm a maniac Saints fan. I hope you're recording it. If not, it will be on again later tonight. I'm a Saints and Tiger fan to the marrow of my bones.
Let's go Saints.
Thank you again. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the paintings.